You've all made 9 patches. We've all made 9 patches. You're going to be making lots and lots of 9 patches. It's not just this border, but it's also going to be the final border. I'm only going to do one video for how to do a 9 patch because there's no point in showing you how to do this twice. It's just the pieces are bigger on the outside border. So you're going to cut a lot of little squares, 1 3/4, lots and lots and lots. And you're going to place them more or less randomly to make a 9 patch. But when I say more or less, I really like to try and put the brighter ones toward the end of my 9 patch. So in this case, it tends to be the golds here, here, but don't really get very hung up on this. It's nice to do it this way for the most part. It'll just sort of make it glitter in a linear way when it's all done. Let's see, that's another bright one. And one more. Oh, I like this green. Okay. And then some not as bright ones. And the corners. Here. So I've got bright ones in the corners. And let me find something else to put in the center there. There we go. Okay, that looks good. It's fun to chain piece these. So I'm going to sew this one to this one, this one to this one, and this one to this one without cutting my thread. No need in pinning, these things are tiny. I sometimes think that we quilt makers are insane. We take perfectly good fabric, chop it up, and then sew it back together. In this case, we're sewing it back together really small pieces. But it's worth the effort. Okay, so I've got 3 together, 3 pairs, and I'm not going to cut them apart. I'm going to lay them down where they came from, and now I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to sew that to that, that to that, that to that. Again, don't cut the threads. Take it off your machine. And now you're going to sew these to here. And you're going to oppose the seams when you get there. Let's get rid of some of these threads. Get them out of the way. Put that here. I hold it down at this end, and then I make sure that these seams oppose each other. You see that? And also here. I don't much care which way the seams go as long as they oppose each other so that they nest. I know some people get very hung up on always to the right or the left or whatever, but honestly, it's going to be up against the batting when you're all done and nobody will ever know. So now I'm putting the third side on, and I do turn so the two that are sewn together are on top, so we can see which side the seam went, and I won't twist them as I put the last row on. Hold it down at the end. Now the seam wants to go that way. Good. And this seam wants to go the other way, and that's fine. And you've got a 9 patch. Ta-da! So when you've got a lot of 9 patches made, time to put the setting triangles on each end to make a border. And these are going to go on like so. These are quarter square triangles, once again, because we want the straight grain to go on the outside edge. So I'm going to take this and line up the right angle and sew from there down. I do press these with an iron before sewing on the triangles. They're big enough that I think it's helpful to sew an ironed block at this point. What you can do, because the pieces are getting larger and it's getting a little bit worrisome to get everything in the right spot, one thing you can do is pinch to find the middle. What I mean by that is you line this up so the nose is hanging out, but you can find the center here, and you just give it a little crease. And one here, where it's the middle, give it a little crease. This is really probably not necessary, but some people worry about it being exact, and this is, a way of getting it exact. And then you line up those 2 creases. It's a little hard for you to see on the camera, but it's there. You'll see that once I've done that, these 2 are lined up fine, so it's just confirmation that it works. I find pinching to find the middle all the time is a handy thing to do instead of getting out a ruler. I think it's how our ancestors certainly lined things up when they were doing medallion quilts, is to fold to find middles and quarters and so on. There's and so you have a unit like this, and you're making several of those except for the ends. And the ends get half square triangles to blunt the end. And that is a really good spot to pinch to find the middle, because these are going to hang out equally on both sides. So I find my middle, pinch it, give it a good pinch so I can see it. And here too. Get my needle, line up my pinch, and pin. Here you can see the ends sticking out the way they are properly done. And you'll sew another end here, and that's for the end units, another half square triangle. And when you're all done, the border looks like this at the end. So you have, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these to go across for the border. This is one where you do not lop off the ends, but the good thing is that the next border is a solid piece of spot fabric, and it will be an exact measurement, which I will tell you in a second. Refer to the instructions just the way you will. And it's cut the strips and cut them to 42.5 inches. If 42.5 inches lines up perfectly with this, you're in the right spot. And so now we've only got one more lesson to give for the Streak of Lightning border, and then the final 2 borders you already have learned how to do, Flying Geese and another 9 patch. So let's get to the next video for the Streak of Lightning.